Hello, dear listeners and dear viewers. Last month, we tried a new format for our monthly blog, a video. And so Mike did it last month for their post, and this month I'm going to give it a try. So let us know what you think. This month, I want to share 3 nutrition tips that won't have you spending hours in the kitchen, maybe no time at all, aside from putting your dish in the dishwasher or washing it when you're done. Today, I'll share 3 nutrition tips that require 0 meal prepping. And unlike a lot of others advertising out there on the interwebs, these tips will require 0 expensive supplements and 0 buying of new kitchen gadgets for some new food fad that influencers are all raving about. And that may make it sound like these tips will be easy, and maybe for some of you they will, but I wouldn't call these 3 tips easy personally. They will take practice and more practice. Some of these tips I'm still working on, and I'll let you know which one or ones. So, ready? Let's dive in. All right, tip number 1, eat slowly and mindfully. I know, but hear me out, okay? Living in late stage capitalism, which thrives on keeping us occupied and distracted from ourselves, has basically turned eating into a pit stop. We scarf down all of our food so we can get back to the grind and be productive and hustle and go, right? Lunch at your desk, totally normal. Eating over the sink, honestly, relatable. Inhaling a breakfast burrito in 6 minutes flat while answering your emails. Who amongst us hasn't done that? I am guilty. But here's the thing. It takes 20 minutes for your stomach to send the, hey, I'm all good here, signal up to your brain. So if we eat at warp speed, we've already crossed the threshold for our fullness cues, and now we're sitting there probably thinking, why do I feel like I've swallowed a balloon? Right? We've all been there. So what can we do to eat slowly and mindfully? For starters, we can put our fork down between bites. Like, literally, set it down on your plate or the table. Hard, but it can be done. Another way to eat more slowly is to chew your food more before you swallow. I know, if putting the utensil down didn't feel weird enough, now I'm saying to focus on chewing your food more. It's a lot. Again, it's a practice. Chewing more not only slows you down, but it taps into that mindful part of this tip as well. When you chew more, you may taste the flavors of your dish more, which equals more mindfulness and more enjoyment of your meal. Additionally, if you tend to have digestive issues, slowing down can help ease tummy discomfort. And in the mindfulness realm, try eating without a screen in front of you, even just sometimes. I know, this is hard and something I struggle with. I'm not saying never to eat with a screen, but maybe try 1 meal a week or 1 meal a day, where it's just you and your food. And to be honest, this is a tough one for me and something that I continue to practice over and over again. Maybe I start without a screen and maybe I don't. But without a screen, eating can be truly, or can be truly a mindful experience of smelling and tasting your food, which can equal more enjoyment and a moment to slow down in this fast-paced capitalistic society. And then also, this is a great way for your meal to become an experience instead of a transaction. Now on to tip number 2, hydration. And it's not just water, but it's mostly water, with some nuance here. Let's talk about dehydration, because most of us are walking around mildly dehydrated and often just accepting it as our personality. Are you tired? Probably dehydrated. A headache for no reason? Possibly dehydrated as well. Brain fog so thick that you could cut it with a knife? Yep, good possibility you're dehydrated. Dehydration is also sneaky like that. It doesn't always show up as thirst. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue or difficulty concentrating, constipation, or even just feeling weirdly hungry when your body is actually just being like, I need a drink. I just want a drink. So for all of us, we'll all have slightly different hydration needs. This will depend on our age, our body weight, our activity level, how warm our environment is, how we tend, like if we tend to be a big sweater during activity or just in general, plus certain medications or even certain health conditions like EDS, which I have, can affect things like how thirsty or not thirsty you feel or how much hydration you need. And hydration also doesn't just mean drinking water. It also means some sodium and glucose for proper hydration. And there's some caveats here. Now, water is the star of the show. It's the best. It's most bioavailable for your body. It's most straightforward way to hydrate. But for some folks, like folks who have EDS, we may need more water than folks without this condition. We will also need to make sure our electrolytes stay in balance. This also doesn't mean that most folks need to be thinking about electrolytes or drinking an electrolyte drink, but for folks who have EDS or some other conditions, you might have to think about those things more. And then water is generally good for everybody, like in the sense of like hydrating ourselves. So aim for somewhere around half of your body weight in ounces as a general starting point for staying hydrated. And drink more if you're sweaty or caffeinated or it's a hot outside or in the environment that you're in. And being extra sweaty or in hot weather is when those electrolyte drinks will be needed for everyone. But listen, hydration doesn't only come from chugging plain water, because I know some folks find water really boring, or it tastes weird, or it just tastes like nothing. There are certain options that you can dive into if water is not your jam. So herbal teas, hot or iced, those totally count. Sparkling water, if still water bores you to tears, bubbles are your friend. And then flavors are also your friend. You can squeeze a slice or two of lemon or lime into your water. You can add a few slices of cucumber or some mint to still or sparkling water, just to add a hint of flavor. Broths or soup, not only hydrating, but also nourishing, so it's a double win. Yay! Fruits and vegetables like cucumbers, watermelons, oranges, strawberries, they're basically water in disguise. and they come with bonus nutrients. So another big win. And also electrolyte drinks or coconut water. They're great for after exercises or other moments when you've gotten really sweaty to help replace that electrolyte imbalance from sweating. So the key is consistency throughout the day, not chugging a liter of water right before you go to bed and then wondering why you're up in the middle of the night to pee. Keep a water bottle nearby. I've got my little water right here. And think of it as your sidekick. Things you can do is set reminders to take a drink, pair having sips of water after you hit send on every email or other repetitive task, or you can pair it with your drink of choice. Have one sip of yummy beverage, one sip of water, or maybe 2 sips of water. But again, look at where else you can get your hydration from into the day. Can you have a soup at lunch or add some hydrating fruits to your snack? So, hydration is unsexy and underrated as well, and it will absolutely change your energy levels if you can work on committing to hydrating yourself. So, you got this. Tip number 3. Listen to your hunger and fullness cues. And please be patient with yourself on this one. So, okay, this is a big one. And I want to be really gentle here because this tip sounds simple. Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. And for some people, it genuinely is easy. But for a lot of folks, it's not that simple, and it's not a personal failure. Here's why this can be complicated. So, if you've spent years, maybe even decades dieting, you can have trained your body to override its hunger signals. You've told yourself hunger is something to fight or outsmart or just white knuckle through. And now your signals might be foggy or delayed or so quiet you can't hear them anymore. This is what chronic restriction does to the body. So let me repeat that this isn't a personal failing, it's toxic diet culture. Another complication is if you're on certain medications like antidepressants, ADHD meds, steroids, just to name a few, those meds can affect our fullness and our hunger cues. Some meds can blunt our hunger cues, some can spike them, or just warp our sense of fullness entirely. And then there's neurodiversity. Hi. If you're ADHD, autistic, or both, your interoception, that's your ability to kind of sense what's happening inside your body, can work differently than someone who's neurotypical. And you might not notice you're hungry until you're absolutely ravenous and shaky. You might hyper-focus on something straight through 3 meals. You may also have a complicated relationship with certain textures, I get that one, temperatures, or food rituals that make just eating mindfully feel like someone handed you instructions to do something in a language that you don't speak. So, what do we do? We start small. Try checking in with your body before meals. Not to judge, just to notice. Am I a little hungry? pretty hungry, running on fumes, even if the signals aren't clear yet, the practice of asking starts to rebuild that connection over time. This links us to that mindful piece from tip number 1 as well, which we can also use to check in on our fullness cues, which again links us back to tip number 1 with eating slowly. Taking that time to smell and taste your food and chew slowly not only is a mindful practice and anti-capitalistic, it gives your stomach time to send that signal to your brain that you're getting full. This way, we have the opportunity to listen to that fullness cue, right? Rebuilding that awareness. So to eat just enough, really, to feel satisfied but not stuffed, which feeling stuffed is never fun. And depending if it's because meds or neurodiversity or just muted hunger and fullness cues, some people find it helpful to eat on a loose schedule while they're rebuilding their awareness. Not because the clock is boss, but because it reduces the chance of missing hunger cues altogether. And if it feels really hard and really loaded, that is completely valid and a great reason to work with a non-diet registered dietitian or a therapist who understands disordered eating. You don't have to untangle years of diet culture noise all by yourself. Like, find people to cheer you on and root for you. So, the bottom line, these 3 things, slowing down at meals, staying hydrated, and tuning into your body, they're not glamorous. They're certainly not what influencers are trying to sell you, because there's nothing to sell here. But they are foundational, and foundation work done consistently and with a little bit of kindness towards yourself is where the real magic happens. I believe in you. You got this.